When you go out and look at the nighttime sky, try to find the Milky Way. And from the city, it's not visible. Not because we're looking at it from bright city lights. I've asked my friend Dawn Nelson to speak to us about the dark skies. Dawn is the delegate of the International Dark Sky Association. She has loved astronomy since she was a little girl. She is a professional natural resource manager with a background in ecology. She has served as the Dark Sky Preservation Director for the Rose City Astronomers for a decade. In 2019, she was given the Leadership Award by the International Dark Sky Association for her efforts. So Dawn, tell us a little bit about dark skies.
Thanks, Jim, and hello, everyone. I'm here today to talk to you about dark skies and light pollution, and I have some props with me. One, I have an eye mask, and I don't know how many of you have slept with one of these, and I have an eye patch, like you see pirates wear. So when I go to bed, I don't go to bed with an eye mask. I go to bed and it looks very dark in my room because I've just come from a lit environment. I turn out the lights, it looks pitch black. Then if I get up in the middle of the night, I can see lots in my room. And that's because my eyes have become adapted to the dark. We have special rods in our eyes for that to work. So then when the light comes in the morning and I'm not ready to wake up, especially in the summer, I put on an eye mask and it keeps me asleep because our body has been triggered to stay asleep when it's dark, when we don't see the blue light. So one day I was thinking, I bet you those pirates had something in mind when they wore patches, because I've never seen an admiral or a captain in a painting in a museum with an eye patch, but you always see pirates depicted that way. So I thought, well, they were always up to no good in shenanigans. Maybe they had an eye patch that they would wear on one side to have one eye be dark adapted, and then they could switch it if they went from light to dark and dark to light and back and forth, and they would always have an adaptation which would allow them to be really quick at their dastardly deeds. So I'm going to talk to you about adaptation, a lot about that in this presentation. So remember that word, and we'll talk about just how these pirates might have used the patch. How many of you saw the writing on my shirt, "Hello darkness, my old friend"? For some reason, our society today has a poor opinion of darkness or dark skies. My aim today is that by the end of the presentation, you too will consider darkness an old friend. I'm a natural resources manager. Over my career, I've helped many clients manage natural resources such as water, wetland habitat, soil, and endangered species. I've helped protect both resource quantity and quality. There's another resource that's very important to life on Earth that many don't think about. Dark skies. When I say dark skies, I mean a natural night sky. So why is a dark sky important? Why does dark matter? There are many reasons, but I'm going to focus on the top two. We humans, and all life on Earth, evolved and adapted to the condition of living on a rotated planet that orbits a star and that has been orbited by a large moon for a few billion years. The consequences of these celestial dynamics have become encoded in DNA. As shown in this animation, for every full rotation, or a day, we have a daytime and a nighttime, light and dark. I always tell my students that there is no such thing as humans being separate from the rest of the universe. We are made of an exploded star. Jupiter shields us from meteor bombardment. Cosmic rays pass through our bodies all the time. Other celestial bodies have influenced life on Earth. If you don't believe me, just confirm it with a dinosaur. Reason one of why a natural night is important is that life on Earth is dependent on circadian rhythms, or biological clocks dictated by multiple celestial movements. When we artificially alter those rhythms, we disturb species and ecosystems, and that includes us. This image shows the variation of day and night on Earth depending on the season and where on Earth you are located. We not only have variation in sunlight on Earth, but moonlight varies too. Moonlight also influences circadian rhythms. Over the course of a month, we go from having no new moon, and the new moon only lasts one day, to complete moonlight, the full moon, which also is just one day. Watch Netflix's series Night on Earth to learn how much the moon influences ecosystems. Sadly, many of us live under artificial lights that are as bright or brighter than a full moon. We live under those lights every day of every month. Some lighting is even as bright as the sun. That's far from natural. It is always best to favor or mimic natural conditions in our developments. Please remember this. It's the most important thing for you to learn today. We need dark skies because every day needs a night. Regard this graphic. While not all creatures are nocturnal, meaning most active during the night, all creatures are part of systems including a range of other creatures for survival. So diurnal, or daytime, and crepuscular, dawn and dusk species are also at risk when we light up the night. About 62% of known animal species are nocturnal. Some animals, like amphibians and bats, are especially at risk as we light up the night. There are many nocturnal plants too. Some only bloom and give off fragrance at night to attract nocturnal pollinators. Studies have shown adverse effects to meadow plants, trees, and crops from light at night. When we light up the night with artificial light, we are not only causing significant disturbance to living organisms that can't evolve and adapt as quickly as these new unnatural conditions occur, but we are also fogging out light from stars that has traveled trillions and trillions of miles to reach Earth. When you see photos of the Earth from space at night with places all ablaze with light, those same places have had their stars washed out. People who think these are pretty pictures of Earth likely only think so because they've not experienced a stunning starry night. It's a sad story when you think about light from stars traveling hundreds and thousands of light years, and light from our neighbor galaxy, Andromeda, traveling 2.5 million light years to reach Earth. Light that has been seen for about 300,000 years with the naked eye by humans, only to be washed out by light pollution. I took this photo of Portland on a clear night. You can't see a single star. Even if you allowed your eyes to adjust to minimal light, that is, become dark adapted, you could only count about 200 stars from the darkest open field in Portland with your naked eye. And that means without the aid of special optics like binoculars or a telescope. As shown in these images, as you get further from population centers, you see more and more celestial features. Look at the difference between these three images, illustrating the constellation Orion as approximately seen in Portland, Bend, and the Oregon Outback in Lake and Harney counties. To really get a feel of the stars we are missing from light pollution, I'm sharing this short film made by the filmmaker Sriram Murali showing Orion at different Bortle classes. Bortle classes are used to identify the quality of a sky based on its amount of light pollution. The scale goes from 1 to 9, with 9 being the most light polluted and 1 being pristine. These images are from a web app and show the difference in the amount of light pollution in the continental US and Oregon in particular. When you look at these maps, black is darkest, negligible or no light pollution. Next is gray, then navy blue, light blue, green, yellow, red, and the most light pollution is indicated in white. Note how much of Oregon has dark skies. We're lucky, but if we don't do something soon to protect our dark skies, we will lose them. Now, I've mentioned light pollution a few times. What is light pollution? When we have outdoor light with no practical use, when we have more light than is necessary for an intended task, when light goes up into the sky instead of onto the intended surface, or when light scatters all over the place, including trespassing into your home, that's light pollution. It's basically unnecessary light at night. The stars and their reflection on planets and moons light up the sky naturally. We don't need lights from billboards, sidewalks, streets, shopping malls, and playgrounds lighting up the sky. We just need artificial lights to light the ground for wayfinding. If we want light for aesthetics and advertising, we can light buildings and billboards without directing it into the sky. Using satellite images, calibrated with on-the-ground data, we can get an idea of the amount of light pollution in the skies over Earth, and we can make predictions. Look at the 1950s compared with the 70s, 90s, and the 2025 projection. When these maps were made, we didn't have LED streetlights. Now the prediction for 2025 is even worse. So that brings us to reason number 2. Dark skies matter to our ability to clearly observe and study the night sky, to recognize our place in the universe, and to inspire us. Imagine, we wouldn't have Van Gogh's Starry Night painting if he weren't inspired by the stars. Astronomy is known as the first science, or a gateway science. Our ancestors were excellent at observing the sky and predicting events. Consider this. You and I are made of stardust that has been around long enough to evolve into an organism that is self-aware of it being made of stardust. We learned that through physics, chemistry, and biology, all byproducts of astronomy or the interest in looking up at the sky. I'd like to speak more in depth about the first reason to protect the quantity and quality of dark skies. Remember, because every day needs a night? I suspect most of you understand the concept of adaptation. That is, the process of change by which an organism or species becomes better suited to its environment. It occurs over a long period of time. Mating, foraging, migration, and predation behaviors all are tied to the movement of Earth and its moon, and even to the stars. When we artificially light up the night, what happens to creatures like sea turtle hatchlings, who for 65 million years have used the light of stars reflecting on the ocean to find their way from their nesting site to the sea? Light pollution affects migratory creatures. Did you know that birds use stars to help them navigate through the dark during migration? 1 billion birds die each year in the US due to collisions, and many of these collisions are a result of light pollution. These are a few of those birds collected by FLAP, Fatal Light Awareness Program. Light pollution disrupts mating cues. Did you know that many frogs, like our Pacific tree frog shown here, won't start ribbiting or croaking their mating calls until they get a natural cue to a certain level of darkness? If an area is very light polluted, they won't croak. No croaking, no mating. No mating, no more tree frogs. Light pollution affects foraging behavior. I don't know about you, but I adore bats. They are absolutely fascinating mammals. Here are a few of our Oregon bats. Bats are the only mammals capable of true and sustained flight, and they are 100% nocturnal. Their bodies are beautifully adapted to the night. Researchers have found that many bats avoid foraging in an artificial light, so they are going hungry. Studies have even found that light pollution could affect the regeneration of tropical rainforest because it disrupts the behavior of seed-dispersing bats. Everyone has seen how moths and other insects are attracted to lights at night. If they and pollinating insects are trapped by your porch lights or your decorative garden lights, They aren't out pollinating. Artificial light disrupts nocturnal pollination and leads to a reduced number of fruits produced by plants. This loss of nighttime pollination cannot be compensated by diurnal pollinators. Here's a tip. If you change your bulbs to warmer colors, you will attract less insects and help save pollinators. Owls have evolved with the amazing adaptation of exceptionally quiet flapping wings. They fly stealth so their prey can't detect them while they hunt in the dark. Imagine all those years of adaptation to create quiet wings only to be revealed to your prey by light pollution. The less owls are able to hunt, the more at risk they are. Well, I promised to explain pirate patches. When I had the revelation about eye patches and pirates, I looked it up on Google and discovered that I wasn't the only one with that conjecture. There's no proof for the pirate theory, but I assure you, the patch does aid in dark adaptation. Since we evolved with the gradual daily change from light to dark and back to light again, our eyes work slowly going from dark to light, about 5 to 7 minutes for maximum sensitivity, and even slower going from light to dark, about 30 to 45 minutes plus. If a pirate was fighting on deck in the sunlight, then had to continue the fight under the deck where it is usually pretty dark, an eye patch would abbreviate the 5 to 7 minute wait and provide a great advantage since a pirate didn't have combat training like Navy personnel. If you have a patch on one eye, the covered eye is dark adapted and the uncovered eye is light adapted. Remember that likely pirate trick. If you want to see stars or look for owls or bats, you need time beforehand to allow your eyes to adapt to the dark. Don't sit in a brightly lit house or tent or in front of an illuminated electronic device and then immediately look up into the night sky. Allow time to adapt. We have so much artificial light at night now, especially in cities, that we don't trust our eyes to see well in low light. But our eyes are especially designed to see pretty well in low light. Since we aren't nocturnal animals, we don't have eyes like a mountain lion whose pupils dilate 3 times more than a human. But our eyes are much better than we imagine. In fact, with no moonlight, no flashlight, and no other forms of artificial light, I can easily find my way from my telescope at OMSI's Camp Hancock to my cabin with just the light of stars. It's so bright with stars that I can even see my shadow. Thinking about that pirate patch again, imagine that you are out at night at an illuminated ball field, or you are getting off a train at a brightly lit station. What happens when you leave those bright, artificially lit places? Your eyes take a long time to adjust to the neighboring environment, unless everything else is equally as bright. So it's not as safe as intended once you leave the overly bright place because your eyes are all screwy. Now, what if you were in a dimly lit area and then you encountered lots of light? You're just like the deer caught in the headlights. Deer don't stand still because they're stupid. It's because they are temporarily blinded and become shocked. The same thing happens to us. If the people who light our cities, towns, and roads at night understood how our eyes work and illuminated things in a way that allowed our eyes to transition, didn't use overly bright light causing glare, and didn't leave on lights when they aren't needed, we would see so many more stars, and the threats to our natural world would be reduced. Artificial light at night has become very, very important to our modern way of life. So am I saying that artificial light at night is a bad thing? No, absolutely not. I'm just saying that there are affordable, practical, and energy-efficient ways that we can use artificial light at night to meet our modern needs and greatly reduce light pollution. We need lighting engineers, ecologists, lighting designers, urban planners, physicians, and astronomers to work together to come up with the best solutions. Only recently have we started to see some of this collaboration. To reduce light pollution, just remember the 4 Ps that spells PATS. Light only where needed for the intended task, proper place. Light only as much as needed, proper amount. Remember, too much light causes glare. Light only when needed, proper time. Have you ever asked, why are lights on stores when they're closed and we're asleep? They only help criminals find their way. And finally, choose bulbs in a warm color spectrum, proper spectrum. Look on the bulb packaging for the color temperature. Go to www.darksky.org to find this postcard guiding you to proper lighting choices. Warmer bulbs are red, amber, yellow, and a very soft white. That is, bulbs without or containing minimal blue light, making them less harmful to species and ecosystems. Blue light triggers daytime metabolic and behavioral cues, and thus is harmful when used at night. This graphic provides a great demonstration of the 4 Ps. Use shielded fixtures so light is aimed downward. Even better, use fixtures that completely hide the bulb so no light escapes above the horizontal plane. Use warm bulbs, and use light only during those times necessary. Put them on a timer or a motion detector. So what can you do to advocate for dark skies? Well, you can conduct a lighting audit of your home, office, or school. Go to RCA's or IDA's website for a self-audit form. Then practice the 4 Ps at your home, office, or school. Modify your lighting to comply. Learn as much as you can about light pollution and good lighting design. Then start educating others at your school, business, and community. Create your own study of the effects of light pollution on our view of the stars or on different forms of life. And join IDA and become active in the Oregon chapter. A fun thing you can do is participate in the Globe at Night program. It's easy. You just match on-screen images on your smartphone to your live view of the night sky and click a button to submit it to the program. It helps scientists monitor light pollution. You might want to take a screenshot of this slide. Of all the forms of pollution that we face, light pollution is the easiest one to address with minimal to no impact on our way of life and no added expense. By reducing or eliminating light pollution, we save energy, save money, save our stars, and protect life on Earth. That's a pretty good outcome. Thanks for your time, and dark skies, everyone.